Good afternoon to you, America. Actually, good morning. I am Dana Loesch in for Glenn Beck. He's taking off taking a well-deserved rest right now, but obviously he'll be back with you. And we have a lot to get into the next several hours. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am and where I come from as well, and why I'm sitting behind the mic for Glenn today. First and foremost, though, as you know, yesterday, horrible tragedy occurred in Wisconsin, actually in the suburbs of Milwaukee, when you had a gunman walk into a Sikh temple and open fire on the people there worshiping. And now the suspected gunman has been identified as 40-year-old Wade Michael Page. And this was so horrific to hear about this and hear the 911 calls and see the people crying and upset because there were whole entire families in this temple. And it's another incident. We're going to get into this and the reaction to this and the media coverage to it. We're also going to be taking your thoughts on this on the phones as well. And also the next subclass of victim that has been created by this. It's unbelievably sad how this is all just absolutely emerged. Now, The Blaze, obviously theblaze.com has content about this, has stories about this. You can get the latest there. I've been looking at a lot of updates on Twitter as well. But basically this happened in Oak Creek, Wisconsin, suburb of Milwaukee. And various news outlets, police have confirmed the man's identity. They're supposed to be giving a press conference around 10 p.m. Eastern. No known motive. Other than the guy's obviously insane, no known motive. And there's 6 people who are dead, many more who are injured. We'll get into this story. But as I said, I'm Dana Loesch in for Glenn Beck. I'm a CNN contributor. I'm a blogger. I work with Breitbart News. I work with, you've seen me on ABC or HBO. I got started in politics several years ago, in fact. I'm a reformed liberal who had her come to Jesus moment on 9/11. And ultimately, this whole journey brought me here. And I hope that when people hear about what my background is, that they are somehow motivated to get involved themselves, because I'm living proof that just one person can make a difference. And like I said, 2001, that's when 9/11 happened. I watched the towers fall on my television. I came from a very Southern Missouri Union Democrat background. All of my family is that way. And I realized that the ideology in which I believed it just wouldn't work in reality. This is something it's not going to work. It has repercussions. And so that's when I became a full-fledged conservative. The journey had already kind of started, but 9/11 is what had cemented it. When you think that you are completely safe within the borders of your own country and nothing is ever going to be able to come and harm you because you're the United States, right? We were living for so long off the credit of somebody else's valor. We're the United States of America. No one's ever going to harm us. Well, 9/11 proved that absolutely it can and will happen. And since that time, I wrote for a couple of daily newspapers. I did some television here and there. And right before the 2008 election, I got involved with radio. And everything just kind of went from there. I got involved with the Tea Party movement in St. Louis, actually, namely helped start the grassroots movement in St. Louis. Conservatives didn't protest. Conservatives didn't take to the street and protest. We're going to talk about Chick-fil-A later on in the hour or in the broadcast. One of the things that really, really just surprised me about the Chick-fil-A movement, or the Chick-fil-A Appreciation Day, and all of these people going out to these restaurants, showing up, hundreds of thousands all across the country without a single Gadsden flag, without a protest placard. It is the new American Revolution. And I mean, these people were voting with their dollars. They were protecting free speech with their dollars. And much in the same way, I stood on the steps of the Arch. This was like way back in, this was 2000 and late 2008, 2009, actually February of 2009 when this happened. And not expecting, we announced it on the radio. The grassroots movement was kind of born on my radio show in St. Louis. We announced it on the radio and stood there on the steps of the Arch thinking no one is going to show up because conservatives don't protest. We knew that people were upset. We knew that the looming threat of Obamacare was there. We saw all of this. We knew it was going to be coming down the pike, but we didn't know if it was going to be enough to actually inspire conservatives to get out to the streets and roll up their shirt sleeves and really get involved, get into the trench. And standing there on the steps, it was freezing, a bitter cold day, bitterly cold, bone-chillingly cold. In St. Louis, it can be freezing and humid at the same time. Standing on the steps of the arch and watching as people flooded into the city, watching as people began to amass under the arch, we ended up having nearly 2,000 people that showed up. There had never before been such a conservative demonstration like this. And it wasn't just St. Louis, it was various cities all across the country. And it was inspiring to see this happen. And that propelled me to go even further into this. Back when I started and first announced the Tea Party on my show and started working with grassroots leaders from across the country, we felt really as though the odds were against us. We didn't really think that, are people really going to show up for this? Are people going to get involved? I mean, we know we're political nerds. Are people going to get as involved in us as this? Are they going to be as passionate about this? Are we going to be able to reach the hearts and minds of the American public? And we did. And it took one person like me, many other one persons out there all across the country that made this happen. And so now here we are, nearly 4 years later, after years of protest, after petitioning, after grassroots phone banking and going door to door and getting involved in individual neighborhoods under the banner of liberty evangelism. And we have come such a long way, and we have amassed so many victories.